These are some artifacts about newspapers in Monroe. Well, not all newspapers. This frame right here contains a playbill from the Opera House, and this dates from about 1912, and the play is entitled Sins of the Father, which was taken from a book by Thomas Dixon. Thomas Dixon also wrote The Klansman, which is the book that D.W. Griffith's epic motion picture was made from. But that's what this is. Down here, this is actually a facsimile or a reprint of the first Walton Tribune. It came out in January of 1900, January 9th of 1900. And then moving over here, this Tribune dates from August the 16th, 1907. What makes it special is it's a special industrial edition. And there are two things unique about it. First of all, it's 48 pages long, which is quite a bit of a newspaper. And second, it's got a lot of photographs in it. In 1907, you didn't see many photographs in the Tribune. And most of these photographs, if not all of them, were made by Mr. Carnes, who you've heard about previously in the show. This picture is the press room of the Tribune. And that's a let me read this to you. The Tribune Publishing Company was chartered on 19 February 1900 and started business with W.G. McNeely as editor. Ernest Camp, a 25-year-old journalist from Swainsboro, took over as editor in 1906, and by 1907 he owned the Tribune. In 1912, the Tribune moved from Spring Street to North Broad, where it has remained for more than 100 years, and of course still there today. This is the Walton News and Messenger, and this dates from May the 8th, 1900. It was actually a combination of two papers. Let me read you this. Early in 1899, the Messenger and the News combined with J.H. Felker as proprietor and William Upshaw as editor, and E.A. Caldwell as assistant editor. Mr. Caldwell would eventually become editor of the Walton News. This is a picture of the Walton News press room, which was on Spring Street. This picture was made in 1914. And this is a copy of the Southern Witness, Volume 1, Number 1. This is the first newspaper that was published in Monroe and the second newspaper in Walton County. And in this frame, this belongs to Randy Camp, and the entire newspaper is in that frame and has been laminated. You can take it out and read it. Did he? Okay. All right, in this cabinet we've got a variety of artifacts. I'm going to try to explain to you. This top row is just old phone books from Monroe that date back to 1950 and go up through 1960. We do have a copy of the 1923 phone book also. But it's not on display here. This is a stock certificate in the Monroe Hotel, excuse me, Hotel Monroe, which was next door where the Wells Fargo Bank is now. That opened in 1920 and closed, I believe, in 1964. And we've got a receipt book from Acox. This one is for the grocery side. Acox was a department store. They had a grocery department and they sold dry goods and just about everything else. And this comes from the grocery side, and that side was run by Mr. Earl Acox. Then we got some bottles and receipts from Carmichael Drugs. Carmichael opened, I believe, in 1904 on Broad Street up here, and they were there a long time. I don't know how long. Then eventually they opened a new store down here, and now of course they're out on 138. And then we've got some castor oil bottles from Monroe Drug. Monroe Drug was on the corner of Court Street and Broad, and before they moved off Broad Street. And Van Horn Drug Store, which was just about across the street here from the Art Guild, up a couple of stores. Then on this next row down here, we've got a variety of just pictures of downtown the Farmers Bank, Carmichael Drugs, and the Big Apple Supermarket. And then we got a counter check from the Farmers Bank and the Farmers Bank News. And a couple of savings books. And in the back here, we got Farmers Bank put out a cotton manual, which apparently told the farmers or the cotton buyers exactly how much money a certain amount of cotton would be worth at a certain price per pound. I'm not certain how those work, but that's about it. Here's some artifacts from the Girls Corps, the letters and insignias that the girls got for participating in the Corps, and this is one of the bugles from early in the Corps and a program from a concert that the Corps gave in 1952. That was early on in their career. Moving down the next shelf, we've got a stock certificate from Walton Mill, and I don't know where that pricing thing's from, but a bottle opener from Sanders Furniture, and some stuff from the REA, the newsletter for the REA, and a brochure about the radio station WKUN, and mug and ashtray from the Tribune, and a sack from Acock's department store, a clothes hanger from Fambra's Laundry and Dry Cleaners, and we'll talk a little more about that later. A calendar from Cole's Jewelry, which was on Broad Street. And that hose nozzle back there was from the Monroe Fire Department and dates back to at least 1930s, probably the 1920s. And here's Miss Preston's high school diploma, and Marie talked about her earlier today. And a book of matches from Hearns Hardware. This bell is a bank that the Farmers Bank gave children, and they'd put money in it, and the bank kept the key. So when they had the bank full, they'd bring it to the Farmers Bank. They would unlock it and put their money in a savings account for them. There are actually several of those still around. On the bottom shelf down here, we have a copy of the Monroe City Code. I think that dates from 1906. You'd be surprised at some of the laws in there about how far from the house your pigsty has to be and things like that. We've got a variety of yardsticks that were given as gifts from different businesses in town. Sanders Furniture, First American Bank, Buckles Hardware, and different places, and then some fans that were given out by Dawster Lumber Company, E.L. Allman Funeral Home, Wright Gin and Trading Company, Gallant Belt, and Robinson Sumrauer Furniture. Okay, we're going to talk a little about Monroe schools. The history of Monroe schools is kind of convoluted until you get to about the late 1800s, close to 1900. And in 1901, the school, which was in use at that time, was called Johnston Institute and was located on Washington and Wayne Street, and it burned down. And after that fire, the next year, this school was built on Church Street, and the land was donated 2 acres by Mr. Felker. And it was built as a high school, but it housed all 11 grades at that time. If you went to this school a little later on, you might remember it as the Yellow School or the Church Street Grammar School. It had a lot of nicknames, but it actually started out as a red brick building, but it was renovated in 1940 and some additions made to the front, fire escape added, and it was painted yellow at that time. But this school, which is across the street, this school is still with us and serves as a community center today. It opened in 1915, and it was built as a junior high school, but opened as a high school. And the first year, 1915, the seniors put out a yearbook, a school annual, and it was called The Melting Pot. And I believe I'm right in saying that's the first annual that was ever put out by a class at Monroe High School. And this is the board of editors on that magazine. Mr. Willis Wells, his diploma, where he graduated in 1915. A couple of unique things about Mr. Wells: he was the only male member of the senior class, and he was also the valedictorian of that class. So in 1928, a new high school opened on Bow Springs Avenue, and this became the junior high at that time. And that school lasted until 1936, and it burned in 1936. And then in 1938, this school opened in the same place on Bow Springs Avenue. And in the late 40s, after World War II, the Lanyas family gave money to build a memorial library which recognized all the graduates of Monroe High School that had served in the Second World War, and that was added onto the side of the building. The library building is still there. This school is gone. It burned in 1976, I believe. By that time, it had been replaced as a high school. It was being used as a junior high school, and the high school had moved to Bryant Road. But before this school was built, when the first high school opened on Bow Springs, Mr. John Denton was superintendent of schools. He was 27 years old at the time. And Monroe had never had a gymnasium. And so Mr. Denton set about to see that Monroe had a gymnasium, and he enlisted volunteer labor and volunteer materials, and they were able to build what was known as Denton Hall. And it opened in February of 1933 and was the first gymnasium Monroe ever had. This is a picture of the Kiwanis Club feeding the faculty, and this was taken about 1950. But Denton Hall was used for basketball games from 1933 all the way up to the early 60s, when the gymnasium was finally built on Bryant Road. But the tragic thing is that the Denton Hall opened in February, actually Valentine's Day, 1933, and only 2 months later, still at the early age of 27, Mr. Denton died of appendicitis, and they had his funeral actually in Denton Hall. Okay, these are some more of Mr. Studdard's paintings. This is what was known as a standpipe. It was part of the city water system. It was located on what is now West Marable Street, but for a long time was known as Standpipe Street. I'm not sure it was ever officially named that, but that's what people called it. This church was built and opened in 1907 at the corner of Broad Street and Highland Avenue. It was at that time the Methodist Episcopal Church, and probably, if I won't say the prettiest church, but one of the prettiest churches that's ever been in Monroe. It was later the Methodists moved to South Broad, and they sold this church to the Presbyterian Church. And then when the Presbyterians built this picture is the Hotel Monroe, which, as I mentioned earlier, was on the lot next door to where we are now. That lot originally belonged to the Phillips family. They had two different houses. The first one burned, and they built a second house, and in 1920 the holding company for the hotel bought the property and the house from the Phillips family, and tore that house down and built Hotel Monroe. And it was at the time probably the nicest hotel between Athens and Atlanta, and had a lot of regular visitors and a lot of permanent residents, as well as some businesses that were in the hotel. It was torn down in 1964, and the Farmers Bank, which had been at the corner of Spring and Broad, moved in a new building there, and today that building is occupied by the Wells Fargo Bank. Now, this shopping cart, grocery buggy, is from Steele Supermarket, which was located on South Broad where John's Supermarket was located later. I believe there's a restaurant in there now. And this is purported to be one of the first grocery buggies in Monroe. Before the advent of the supermarket, we had grocery stores, but you went in and told the grocer what you wanted, and they took it off the shelves and bagged it up for you. Supermarket, you pushed the buggy around and picked out what you wanted. And this is just a variety of photographs from around town. We've actually already seen this one. This is a photograph of the fire that destroyed the Troy Theater, which was on the corner of Washington Street and Broad Street. This is just the intersection at Spring and Broad where the National Bank was. This is Bolton's Billiard Parlor. It's on Broad Street. And the Sinclair station, the CVS drugstore is where that Sinclair station was then. Mr. Braswell was the proprietor of that. And here's an advertisement for Steele Supermarket where the buggy came from. Got another picture of the Sinclair station down there. And then the Monroe Supermarket, there's an advertisement, coffee 95 cents, and a picture of Monroe Supermarket. It was located on Highland Avenue. The building's still there. It's Acock and Child's appliance store now. And the Freezette Drive-In was out on what was called then the Atlanta Highway. It would be about around where Breelove Drive runs into Spring Street, somewhere in that area. This is part of a Christmas parade around 1960. People standing, you can see Hotel Monroe in the background and watching the parade go by. It's a JC's in that buggy there. This is Brooks Bakery. They opened about 1950 on Highland Avenue, and then they moved later to Broad Street. Anyway, she told me when they moved to Broad Street, the Carwood Manufacturing Company was right behind them, and they had a lot of ladies that worked in there. I would guess over 100, and they took a break every morning. So her father would turn on the exhaust fans before break time, so all the smell of the yeast dough and the sweet rolls and all would go out toward the Carwood, and those ladies would come over and buy what they wanted for their break at Brooks Bakery. This is an interior picture of Hearns Hardware that dates from 1921. Hearns originally opened on the corner of Spring and Broad and then moved further up North Broad later. This is a Coca-Cola bottling company, an aerial view made probably in the 60s sometime. That building originally was a tractor and a car dealership. It was also a service station at one time, and you can see the bus station, which was located as a dentist office there now, the bus station. This is an early photograph of North Broad, looking from about where Court Street is, looking north on Broad Street. This is pretty close to the same thing, a little further south, and this I would say dates from 1940s. It's sometimes interesting that at this time Sanders Furniture was in this building right here, which is the Butcher Block now, and Western Auto was up here where Sanders Furniture was later on. They just did a swap at some point in time. This dates from early 50s, right around 1952, 53, something like that. National Bank, the Monroe Soda Grill, Sanders Furniture, the Monroe Recreation Parlor, which was a pool room, and on the corner down here is Allman Funeral Home, which started out there in Monroe. This is about the same view at a somewhat later date. And these folks are lined up in front of Monroe Drug waiting for Santa Claus to get here. That's the Christmas parade, and just a shot of the crowd. And City Recappers, which originally opened behind McGarity Ford on South Broad, and that's just an advertisement for them. And we have two Santa Clauses with us. The taller Santa came from Milner Acock. The Acock brothers ran a department store From sometime in the early 1900s, between 1906 and 1915, they opened a store on Broad Street, and then it burned in 1960. Well, when it burned, they sold their business and their name to the Milner Company from Gainesville, and it reopened as Milner Acox, and this is Santa Claus that they used in their window at Christmas time. The shorter fellow was the Santa Claus that appeared at the Coca-Cola bottling company during Christmas. I think has a little more age on him than the Milner Acox Santa Claus. Malcolm Body and Paint, which was on Alcova Street and had 24-hour record service. This is a picture of the cornerstone of the Monroe Freezer Locker. Monroe Freezer Locker was in the back of what was the National Guard Armory and later became the Nile Recreation Center, and today is still part of the Recreation Department. The freezer locker is gone now, but it was a great innovation because before that time, people didn't have the wherewithal or the ability to freeze food to keep for the future because it just wasn't available to the general public. But when the freezer locker opened, you could go there and rent a freezer locker and put whatever you wanted in it and then come get it whenever you wanted it. This is a picture of the high school on Bow Springs Avenue. Charles Briscoe made this picture the day after it burned down in '76, and just the facade is left there. This is Walton Electric Membership Corporation, which is still in business. It's out going toward Athens now, but this building was where our City Hall is today. Probably more, where the City Hall is today. This is a advertisement from Quality Foods, which was owned and operated by Jim Dawes. This is Walker Motor Company Paint and Body Shop, and this is just a quick scene from when it snowed. This is looking north from about where CVS Drugs is today. When you can see the Sinclair station we talked about a while ago, right here on the side. And a shot of the Christmas parade, probably in the late 50s, early 60s, with Ben Saul's Amoco station in the background. And this is another Christmas parade from a different angle. Bill Nash Chevrolet, probably from about 1962 or so from the looks of the car. And this is an advertisement for Philco television. I don't know what company that is, but I'd guess it's probably Peters and Foster's. This is an aerial view of the Felker farm, and that farm today is part of downtown Monroe. If you see close enough, this is Baker Street right here, and this is Highway 78. This is Felker Street coming in right here, and where Felker Street met Spring Street, there was a large lake in that area. Now there's a car lot, a car dealership, or something like that there. This two-piece desk was built in 1852 and was part of the furniture in the courthouse at that time. Now that was the courthouse that preceded the historic courthouse we have now, which opened in 1883. But when Mr. John Pryor Edwards, who lived in the Davis Edwards house on North Broad, became the clerk of the Walton Superior Court, he took this as his desk. That was in 1858, and if you can see, he wrote his name on the inside the door, John Edwards, Clerk, Superior Court, 1858. And he's got different cubby holes labeled with letters and with different dates where he kept stuff. Up top here we have a diploma. It belonged to Thomas Breelove. Okay, this display is concerns Fambra's Cleaners and Laundry, dry cleaners and laundry. This is Mr. Raymond Fambra, who founded Fambra's, and it was originally known as Monroe Cleaners, and then later changed the name to Fambra's Cleaners. This picture dates from the 30s, and this is actually the back. You can see it. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. It says Monroe Dry Cleaners and Laundry. This is the back side, which was on Washington Street. Washington Street would have been along here, and Court Street's on the other side. The business fronted on Court Street. And This is a greenhouse that was attached to the laundry, and Mr. Fambra's wife, Frances Fambra, opened Frances Florist, and that was the greenhouse and the garden right here where she grew flowers that she sold in Frances Florist. This is one of the laundry trucks they used to deliver laundry and dry cleaning with. That's parked next to the Cherokee Theater on Court Street. You're familiar with that. Here's another shot of Mr. Fambra standing in front of the dry cleaners later on. This is in the 1950s. This is an interior shot of the front desk and business part of that establishment. This panel has to do with the textile industry in Monroe, which has always been a big part of our community. You can see the lady working in Walton, well, one of the mills, I'm not sure which one that is. And here's a shot of the Walton mill and the Monroe mill's water tower. And this picture, this is a picture of the employees of Henson Manufacturing Company, which was as they used to say, a sewing plant. And that was made in 1959. This is a picture of the Monroe Mill employees, and that was made in the 40s, I believe. And the bottom picture is a picture of the employees of Carwood Manufacturing Company. If you have eaten at the Potluck restaurant, then this is where you ate, because they took the front off of that building on Midland, and the Potluck, along with several other storefronts, are in that building today. And going backwards in the development of textiles, this basket was used by Mr. Buddy Smith to pick cotton in the fields around Monroe from the 1920s to the 1940s. Okay, this quilt was given to us by Dottie and Durwood Tola. It was in an estate sale, and Dottie saw the historical significance of it and gave it to be put in our museum at some point in time. And to be honest with you, we don't exactly know what it is. It has over 200 names of individuals, businesses, and schools on it. And according to the dates, it was sewn together, put together in 1940-41. We think it might have been some type of fundraiser, maybe for the war effort or whatever, but we're really not sure what it is. But it's got a lot of interest because of the families, the names, the businesses, and all that were located in and around Monroe. This is Miss J.T. Preston, Sr. She was Leela Breelove before her marriage, and she was a member of the First Baptist Church. And during the Second World War, she sewed this flag, which was called a service flag or flag of stars, and the purpose of it was to hang in the sanctuary, and each star represented a member of the First Baptist Church that was serving in the Army, Navy, or whatever, excuse me, during World War II. And we have a list here of those people that are represented by the stars, and the ones with asterisks are the ones that lost their lives during the war. Okay, this display is about the Monroe National Guard, and it's different pictures of the Guard was reorganized. I think it started as Battery B. You can see this picture, which dates from 1933 at Camp Foster, which was close to Jacksonville, Florida. But through the years, the Monroe Guard has been different units, and we have a thing that delineates when it went from one unit to the other. But these are just different photographs been made at camp and at the armory and all at different points in time. This is a guide-on of the Battery B. And then we have here we have a photo album, and this picture, which shows General Hearn, General George Hearn, who is the Adjutant General of Georgia, a Monroe native, and he was Adjutant General under 5 different governors. And he's here with Governor Vanderbilt, who had been the Adjutant General before him, and Governor Talmadge, who was governor at the time. And here he is with Governor Griffin, Marvin Griffin. This is from the program when the Armory here in Monroe was dedicated and named for General Hearn. Okay, this is a semi-blueprint of the Monroe Oil and Fertilizer Company, which was on Madison Avenue between Davis Street and Church Street. And what we've done, we got some photographs here of different parts of that business and tried to line them up with what's on the blueprint. This is the seed house, which is this photograph, which is where they stored the cottonseed. The cottonseed was ground and the oil extracted, and then what was left was also sold as a fertilizer product. And number two, this is the wagon shed and the ginnery, where actually the cotton ginning went on. They separated the cotton from the seed. And this is the office, which was located here, which faced Madison Avenue, South Madison Avenue. This collage is just a picture of employees that work for the Walton Tribune. All right, this Tribune came out April 4th, 1973, and shows some of the destruction caused by the tornado that came through town at that time. Mr. Neil Broach was killed in that tornado. And then this is just a group of pictures of Preston Home Place and different parts of that house. This is WMRE, which was located at the corner of Spring Street and Breelove Drive. And it was a radio station, the only radio station in Monroe for years and years. And advertisement circular from the paper about the Big Apple Supermarket, which was where Peters and Foster's is today, down at the end of Court Street. And they gave S&H string stamps. Now, this basket belonged to Francis Fambra, who I mentioned when we were talking about Fambra's Cleaners and Francis Florist. And Francis used this basket to cut flowers from the garden that was in the picture and use those to make arrangements at Francis Florist. This is just a bag from Allen's 5 and 10 cent store, which was located on South Broad. And this is a book that was put out by the Tribune, a supplement in 1970 for the Walton Electric Membership Corporation. Put those out, I believe, each year. This plate was given by Carmichael Drugs in 1908 to their customers. It says in the center, compliments of Carmichael Drug Company. And I think that it was given in honor of their 5th anniversary. That's what we believe it was for. And the truck is a paperweight from Murray Motor Company. These scissors came from the Nowell Arnold Kelly Company, which was a dry goods establishment on South Broad. The brooch back there is from Stowers, which was a department store, ready to wear as they called it at that time. These dishes were used in the dining room at the VFW. VFW was a popular place to eat on weekend nights. You could play bingo there. And you can see in the photographs, we got a picture of Junior Armstrong and Mr. Green, I believe, cooking steaks back there, and some folks enjoying dinner. I think that's a Christmas party from Milne Acock's employees. Up top, we just got a seat cushion, probably sold by the Booster Club to raise money for the football team, with different names of businesses on it. And the sesquicentennial edition put out by the Tribune in 1968, just celebrating Walton County's sesquicentennial. And here's another, the Liberty Bell banks that the Farmers Bank gave out to children. And this is a scrapbook with copies of the school newspaper, the High Life, from 1950. Mr. P.G. Perry Garrett ran several eating establishments and grocery stores in Monroe. The picture up top, which was taken from this, that establishment was on North Broad Street, and we think it was his first one. He later opened this restaurant. It was on the corner of Spring Street and Madison Avenue. It's where Harry Brown's Oil Company is today. And then his last one was this Perry Garrett's Drive-In, which was out on Highway 78 going toward Athens. That lot's covered by the bypass now, but no longer there. But that was his last establishment. If you ever ate a hamburger that Perry Garrett cooked, it was cooked in this frying pan right here, which was loaned to us by his daughter, Harry Nell. And this tray, if you drove in and got curb service, you might very well have received it on that tray, which also came from Perry Garrett's. And this is a series of photographs that I put together for a program I do called Monroe Then and Now. And I'll kind of take you through these and give you a synopsis of what they are. This is the Hester Laboon House, which stood at the corner of Church Street and Broad Street. Today it's the Pinnacle Bank. This is J.L. McGarity Company. This picture was made in 1940. And this is when the 28 millionth Ford came to Monroe on a tour of the country. And then this is the way McGarity's looks today. This is the Monroe Supermarket we mentioned earlier. This picture from the late 40s. They opened in 49. It's probably around 49 or 50. And here it is today as Acock Child Appliances. And I've already told you about the Methodist Church at the corner of Broad and Highland, and that's a parking lot today. The center photograph up top shows Young's Funeral Home in 1946. And then at the bottom, the way Young's Funeral Home looks today, same place. Over here, we have a shot at the top of Alma Knight Allen Memorial Park when it was a park. That land was bought and donated by Alma Knight's husband, Bonaparte Allen. And the park was built in her memory. Today, the park has become part of Rest Haven Cemetery, but the sign is still there. And continuing, this is a shot of the Hotel Monroe that we talked about earlier, that's built on the Phillips property. And then the Farmers Bank was built in its place, 1966. This is the W.O. Dean House, which was on North Broad at the corner of Highland Avenue and Broad Street. And it was built about 1910. That's an estimate, but that's close, by W.O. Dean and his wife. And then later, in the late 40s, early 50s, it was used by Williams and Smith Funeral Home. It's their funeral home. And then not too long after that, it was torn down and the service station went in there. And today it's still a service station. This is the Ellis Cafe, and down below that is Blassingame Cleaners. This is on Spring Street. Not exactly the corner of Spring and Wayne, but Spring Street slightly below Wayne Street. And today that's a church in that building, but the building is still there. This is the Langston home, which is on Alcovey Street. And the Langston home was bought by the American Legion in the early 50s, and this building was built. The American Legion building was actually built behind the Langston house, and the house remained there for a while and was used to house kindergarten classes in Monroe. And then eventually the house was torn down, and this you can see the place where the house sat in front of the American Legion. The W.H. Nunley Company started business in Monroe in the early 1900s, and W.H. Nunley and his family actually lived not far from where this building is, on Broad Street. And they opened this department store, and it eventually became Gallant & Belt, belt company that's still around today. And then Peters & Foster's was in there a while, and today it's Buckles Hardware. This shows a picture of a train depot in 1951, and then that's been renovated and still around, not as a train depot, but it's a beautiful building and still with us today. This is just a variety of a collage of different receipts and work orders and all from different businesses that have done business, and in some cases still doing business in Monroe. This is the stamp machine that was located at Steele Supermarket on South Broad. You could buy stamps there, and some of the wrapping paper from Aycock's department store, an advertisement from their grocery department where they were selling a dozen grade A small brown eggs for 30 cents. And this is a picture of Milne Aycock's when they opened after Aycock's had burned. You can see this picture of the store after the fire in July of 1960. Cherokee Rose Candy Company was in business in Monroe for decades, and this is a picture of their truck, their delivery truck that they used. And that truck actually is sitting in the parking lot behind the building we're in now, only the building wasn't there when this picture was made. This is just a shot behind Broad Street, some of the parking lot and alley areas behind Broad Street. This is the interior of Aycock's department store, and one of the things that was fascinating in Aycock's, especially if you were a child, they had this delivery system where all the money was sent to a cashier in these little carts that ran on these tracks. So there was only one cashier. The salesman would make a sale, send a receipt or send a sales ticket and the money to the cashier. The cashier would make change, send a receipt and the change back. And if you're in there with your parents, it was fun to watch those little cars zip around the store. There's a shopping bag from Aycock's and a fertilizer sack from Arnold's Fertilizer. Okay, this a variety of exhibits here. This one has to do with McGarity Ford. There's 3 different pictures here. The first one, this is the first Ford V8. It was rolled out in 1932, and Mr. McGarity taught the 1932 graduating class from Monroe High School into coming down having their photograph made with the V8 in front of his business. This is a picture that tells you that McGarity is providing free talking pictures in their business, and you can see the crowd that's gathered to see those. And finally, this we've seen this picture before. This is when the 28 millionth Ford made a tour of the country and stopped by in Monroe there. We've got a couple of work orders that were completed. There's a whole list of things that Mr. Allen had done to his car, and it cost him $3.22. This is a picture of the employees of McGarity Ford. I don't know the exact date there, but on the front row is Tom Prather, James Coggins, Herschel Scott, who later ran Scott's Lunchroom, Jody Prather, Homer Wood, Buster Prather, and Monroe Knight. And then in the back we've got B. Dow Wofford, Carolyn Holloway, L.E. Colley, Harry Knight, who managed McGarity for a long time, Jack Smith, who eventually opened City Recappers, Sam Briscoe, L.C. McGarity, who was the owner of McGarity's, and he was J.L. McGarity's son, Speck Prather, Lodi Smith, Frank Thomas, Edwin Adcock, and John Lawrence. Okay, moving over, we're going to talk about entertainment. The Idle Hour Theater was on Broad Street, where there's an engineering company that's beside the Butcher Block. It's beside the Butcher Block restaurant today, but Idle Hour Theater was before it was Idle Hour, the same business was the Elite Theater, and that was really the first motion picture theater in Monroe. Motion pictures had been shown in other locations, but the Elite Theater, which was opened by Mr. Mendel, I believe in 1914, was the first business That was their primary business, was showing motion pictures. And then he was bought out a little later, and they changed the name to the Idle Hour Theater. Here's a playbill from the Troy Theater. The Troy Theater stood at the corner of Washington Street and Broad Street. It was built in 1940 and stayed there until it burned in the 60s, around 1960, I believe. And you can see at the Troy, we had the Jivatones for 2 big days, in person and on stage. Here's a picture of the Farmers Bank, which was built in place of the Monroe Hotel. And these are the employees of the Farmers Bank in 1970. And here's a shot of Carmichael Drugs, which opened in this location in 1904. And right here is the scale, which we have right here, where you could weigh yourself and have your fortune told for only 1 cent. Above that is an interior shot of Mendel's grocery store. And a little higher, you can see our clock from the Farmers Bank in Monroe. I hope you've enjoyed our tour of remembering Monroe, and if and when we have a museum, a Monroe Museum, we hope you'll stop by there and support us in that. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Kenny Sargent with Keep Walton Beautiful in the Walton County Recycling Center. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. I wanted to catch you up on some things going on here at the Recycling Center. We just wrapped up our document destruction event, and we've gotten in some initial totals that haven't been confirmed, but they've told us that we got in around 7,000 to 8,000 pounds of paper at our event, so we were ecstatic with that. We thought things went well. We hope all you that come out to see us also thought they went well. And I want to thank you all for coming out, and I also wanted to thank you for bringing in the shoes. Our high school volunteer that was kind of in charge of trying to get that jump started and doing something good around the community ended up getting about 5 boxes of shoes, which is more than he had gotten in all of his time in the schools this year, and he was really excited about that, and we were really excited to be able to help him. So again, I want to thank you all for coming out. This has gotten to be a pretty big event for us, and we do plan on continuing to do that. With that said, and that event over, we're kind of diving right into our Rivers Alive event, and I know it's not normally till October, but we are getting started with that. So if any of you are interested or want some information on that, if you've never been a part of it, it really is our biggest event. And last year we had over 300 volunteers, and we would like that to even grow bigger. So feel free to give us a call up here at the Recycling Center if you're interested in that or just want to find out more. Our number here is 770-267-1421 is our main line, and you can speak with someone from the office staff there. Other than that, that's pretty much what we're doing here. It is the end of our fiscal year coming up, so we're doing a lot of stuff with our paperwork and all, and getting ready for the new year. And I would encourage you, if you've never been out here to our center before, come check it out. We'd be happy to walk you around, show you everything we take here and what we do here. We want you to use us as a resource. We're here to help you guys any way we can. And again, our number is 770-267-1421, and just give us a call. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome today. I'm Dina Huff, the Executive Director for the Partnership for Families, Children, and Youth. And today I come to the well here at the restaurant. A good friend of mine, Hope Jones, is going to be opening this lovely place next week. So I wanted to take this opportunity to have her as my guest this morning so we can spread the word. She's also going to join the chamber, so you'll be seeing her again in that viewing. But because she's special to me, I wanted to make sure to get this out into the community. And so, Hope, I'm going to let you introduce your family and your staff.
This is Lily. She is 6. This is Tristan. He's 15. And this is Michaela. These are my kids. And you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Nicole. This is my daughter Alexandria and my other daughter Abigail.
And we also have a chef, but he hasn't made it here today. So he's very cautious of what he puts in his body. So we're all very healthy. We really care about what we put in our bodies here. So we don't just say it, we live it.
Okay, so where did you come up with the idea and the name, The Well?
Well, over my life, I've had some things happen, and I have fallen in love with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And through all that, in the Bible, where Jesus met the Samaritan woman at the well, and she come to him broken, and all of us are broken at one time, and what it takes is Jesus to heal us. Mm-hmm. And that's how the name came about.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that until today, actually, so that's great. I mean, I knew the story, but I didn't know that was the idea you were using. Okay, what kind of food are you going to have?
Okay, so we're going to have all grass-fed bison, which is from a local farmer, beef, turkey, and we're going to have a veggie burger. Then we're also going to make our own hot dogs in-house with the same meat, and cold-pressed juices, smoothies, a salad bar. We're going to try to do a lot of things organic, but it's really hard to get everything organic at certain times of the year. And we're going to do all GMO free. And also, if you have a gluten allergy, you can come and eat at the restaurant as well. So what we're going to do with that, if you are gluten sensitive, everything we put in our ingredients is gluten free. But if you want a gluten free bun, we'll offer that. We're also going to do zucchini fries, sweet potato fries, and regular fries, but we're going to deep fry them in all avocado oil. Thank you.
Sounds delicious. It's making me hungry. So when are y'all scheduled to open?
We're going to be scheduled to open for friends and family Monday and Tuesday, which is the 9th and 10th, then open to the public the 11th.
Okay, and what do you have set hours yet? Or?
Our hours are going to be 11 to 9 Monday through Thursday, and 11 to 10 Friday and Saturday, and closed Sunday.
Okay, great. Well, I know your kids have been a big part of this as well. So do y'all have anything you'd like to add that Mom missed? Michaela, I know you're a great spokesperson. Do you have anything you want to say?
Just say, come meet us at the well.
Come meet us at the well.
That's right. Well, anything else you'd like to add, Tom?
You want to add anything?
I'm just excited about it opening.
Okay,
I'm so excited.
And she has lived gluten-free for 20 years. Her ex-husband had celiac disease, so she's had to live it. So she knows how to prepare the food and what to be sensitive of. And also her daughter has type 1 diabetes. So so there's a lot of other things coming. It's just we don't want to give it all out right now.
Right. Okay, well good. I'm very excited about this opening, and I hope to be here bright and early next week or late in the afternoon. So I hope that our community will come support you. I know I have a lot of people that ask about healthy alternatives, and this is where you can start and make a change, and I'm sure they can give you some advice on some other items you may be able to try at home. So I hope that you will all come out Wednesday when the well opens. And before we forget, where are you located, Hope?
We are located beside Sears in Monroe. Our physical address is 500 Great Oaks Drive, suite number 8 in Monroe. So, and you can look at the web at thewell.com, and our menu is listed, our hours, and our phone number.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for being here today and being my guest. It's always a pleasure to be with your family. So, if you ever have any questions for us at the partnership, please feel free to call us at 770-286-5255. 207-6060. Thank you for watching. And we're going to let Hope introduce our chef here at the well. So,
this is William Bryant. He has years of experience as being a chef. He's also a vegan, so he's very health conscious, and he has an awesome testimony how what you put in your body, it heals you. So he's off all of his medication, all diabetes medication. You can go ahead and speak.
Asthma, working on the issue with the high blood pressure now. It's a work in progress. So by lifestyle changes and healthy eating, plant-based diet, and the focus on exercise and proper nutrition can make incredible changes in your life. So it's very important as far as what we eat and the quality of the food that we eat and the way that we prepare it, and to cut back on the high sugar, high fat, and high salt. So very important.
Thank you. And I know Hope is excited to have you
It's been a blessing.
on board, so. All right. Well, hope to see you at the well on Wednesday. Thank you.
Hey everybody, how you doing? We're going to show you some of the animals here at Walton County Animal Control. But before we do that, I wanted to tell you about a couple things that are going on in the community. One is, for the last month, we've been using a new website called helpinglostpets.com. This has been a really great website for us. If someone loses a dog or a cat, they can go to this website, register their pet with a photo of it and all the information, and we get an automatic email here at the shelter, and that way our officers and our shelter staff can be on the watch out for that dog or cat. Maybe if you find a dog or a cat, you can also post the animal there, and it's a great way. It shows it's nationwide, but you can zoom in on Walton County. You can see all the dogs and cats that are lost on a map and look at little pictures of each one. And so far, just in the last month that we've been using it, a lot of animals have gone straight to their homes instead of coming to the shelter. So it's been a real help for us here at the shelter. So hopefully it won't happen, but maybe your dog or cat runs away. You can go to helpinglostpets.com and list your pet there. The other thing that's going on is the Atlanta Humane Society is going to be back in Walton County one more time with their mobile spay-neuter clinic. Maybe some of you were last time they were here, but it's just $35. I mean, you cannot beat that. They're going to bring their RV. It's a mobile spay-neuter clinic. They're going to be at Tractor Supply in Monroe. This is going to be in the beginning of July 2nd and 3rd, but you need to call now to get an appointment. It's not just walk up when you want. You have to make an appointment, and those slots fill up fast for just $35 for a spay and neuter. And so to make your appointment for that Atlanta Humane Society discount clinic, you call 678-517-2143, or you can find more information at atlantahumane.org. And so another reason, don't let that dog or that cat just have puppy and kitten after kitten, and then they end up here at the shelter. Take advantage of this, just $35 and you get your pet fixed. We've got more information on it at the shelter as well. If you want to stop in, you can always come by here, see the animals that for adoption. Monday through Friday from 2 to 4:45, we're open to just come down and browse. And so now we'll show you some of those animals that are here.
We got a shepherd mix. She's female, about a year old. She is heartworm negative. She's current on her vaccinations. She's really sweet and needs a good home.
These are sister Chihuahua mixes, about 3 months old. They're looking for a good home, very sweet.
Got some nice female black lab mix right here. She make a good pet. She loves to be petted. What we have here is a male terrier mix, about 3 years old. Looks like a little bitty old mini German Shepherd. Needs a good home.
Bio Green. Preserve your family's health and well-being. Get your home tested. Now that's living healthy and green.
Green, green, green. It's your home, it's your dream. Radon testing, keep it healthy and clean. Make it green, green, green.
To learn more, call 866-730-GREEN.